Hey DCC, and welcome to another edition of Morning Coffee. Um, when I grew up in Pennsylvania, Ealsport, I used to almost have like a zoo in my garage. I collected all kinds of things. I had like painted turtles, I had big snapping turtles, I had tree frogs, I had all different kinds of stuff. And then when the kids, we lived in a parsonage, so we were right next to the church. And so all the kids, when they'd come in on Sunday for Sunday school and everything, everybody would kind of migrate through the side door of my garage, and they'd all come in, and we'd look at and play with the frogs and the turtles and everything. But I remember my mom used to take the turtle when I was this little kid, right? And I was always asking questions, and of course I was always impatient. And she would sing this song, and I'm not a good singer, but bear with me. She'd say, be patient, don't be in such a hurry. When you get impatient, you only start to worry. And then she'd just sit there, remember that God is patient too, and think of all the other times when someone had to wait for you, or something like that. I think I remembered it. My mom would be proud. But but she would take this turtle, right? This idea, this concept of patience, and of course, my dad would always say, Peter, patience is a virtue, and of course, I'm like every other kid. I don't know what the crap of virtue is. I don't know, what that means. But okay, so you're just telling me to pipe down, go somewhere else, and stop bothering you. Is really how I took that. Um, but have you ever, thought about like the virtues and things, the qualities that if you could pick like one trait that you would want to be said of you, to be known for, um, have you ever thought about what it would be, right? Sometimes we get asked the question, what would you want written on your tombstone, or what would you want? But I mean, what is it something that you want to be known for? Maybe by your kids, by your wife, by your coworkers, by people who knew you. And I think sometimes people talk about honesty, integrity, excellence. Just leader, great leader, those type of things, right? But it's not often that when you ask somebody that question, without any prompting or anything, somebody says, I wish that I could be known as humble. Humble's not one that is often kind of rolls off the tongue, right? And I think it's because, I don't know, for you, but for me, it's something that I struggle with, and I think sometimes when we think when you struggle with humility, that it's this prideful thing where it's like arrogance, right? Like I think I'm big and bad. And most of us truly inside aren't so arrogant, right? We have negative self-talk, we have self-doubt, we've got things that we know that are true about us. And so even if we can fool some people, we are always aware of our shortcomings, right? And so I don't mean humility in the absence of arrogance. What I really mean is just somebody who's truly humble. And I'll explain it like this. I get upset when I get disrespected, right? Like if I've worked really hard, or one of the things that I like to pride myself in is I love to study and know why I believe something that I believe. And so if I feel like I've studied, or I've been in a business meeting and I've thought through all the angles of ways that we could approach something, and I go through intense scrutiny, oh, okay, we could do it this way. No, that won't work because of this. And we could do it this way, but no, that won't work because of that. And I go through and I put hours and hours in there. What was always frustrating, and still today is when I go into a meeting and we throw it out there, and then somebody like just throws like a wet blanket on it, or criticizes it, because I know they didn't put 50 hours of effort to think through what I thought through. And now I feel inconvenienced because now I have to go and try to impart the wisdom of 50 hours of research to show them why no, what your criticism is actually a bad move. And so, but my pride gets hurt, right? The very first thing that happens is a little punch on the nose, and then I'm upset and I am defensive and my demeanor changes. And so I struggle with this area of pride, right? And I think you can find yourself in the same boat. There's things that you want to be true of you, and when somebody brings something up that it kind of blows that up, then it hurts, it stings a little bit, and we can get defensive. I remember the first time, I always thought my dad was kind of settled in the fact that he was bald. I mean, my whole life he's not had hair, right? And so, but I remember we got chippy. I don't remember. I think it was when I was in high school, and we are getting a little chippy, and we were saying stuff, and there was kind of a couple, 2, 3 days where we were kind of doing bald jokes, a little bit extra. And I remember my dad just kind of lost it. And I realized, that wow, he's more sensitive about being bald than I thought he was. And it's that issue, right? It's there's something there that hits us in the face when we want to be seen as this, and something makes it apparent that we're not seen as that, right? And so you want to be attractive, you want to be good looking, you want to be whatever, right? And then somebody teases you or says something or brings something up that makes you inconsistent with that, and all of a sudden that gets hurtful and frustrating and points out something that we don't like about ourselves. And so one of the things that is probably one of the hardest virtues to hold is humility. And I want you to define humility like this: the goal is to see ourselves as God does and accept whatever place He has for us. To see ourselves as God does and to accept whatever place He has for us. And that's hard, right? I want to move up. I want to be in charge. I want to be better than somebody else. All those inner dialogues that bombard us and hit us, and we have this inner drive to become better and better and do everything. But very few times can we just be settled to say, listen, I have this role to play. These are the giftings that God gave me. This is the means that God gave me. This is kind of who I am in sum total, and I'm okay to play this role, right? I think Lecrae, when we were kind of traveling around and working on all his concerts for Rush Records, Lecrae had a song that said, I can play the background. And it was a message about this, I need to take a step back and play the background more. I'm always about being up front. And I can imagine the stress and pull on him in his industry, right, and in his medium of talent, where it's a constant battle against pride and a constant fight for humility, so much that it came out in a song. But, if we can think about one thing today, I just think about how you can chase a virtue. And maybe that virtue is humility this week. How can you chase the virtue of humility and be satisfied where God has put you? See yourself for how God sees you, and then accept whatever place He has put you in. Okay? Have a good day.